Joining us now is the second-ranking Democrat in the Senate, member of the Judiciary Committee, Minority Whip Dick Durbin of Illinois. Great to have you on the show.
Senator, great to have you here.
Thanks.
I'm sure you have mixed feelings when you hear Lisa Murkowski and other colleagues go to the floor and criticize the president. That certainly is so much better than what the House Republicans were doing, so I guess we should be thankful for small favors. But it is interesting that Lisa Murkowski says he's disgraced the office. Marco Rubio says he's committed impeachable offenses, but not going to have him removed. I can go down the long list. Lamar Alexander, I'm still trying to figure out exactly what he was trying to say. But yet they won't vote to remove him from office. They won't even vote for a fair trial. Will they vote, possibly, for a censure?
I don't know about a censure, Joe. Just remember that a censure would not take place in the trial. It would take place in the ordinary course of business in the Senate, and that means it's under the control and the loving arms of Mitch McConnell in terms of whether or not it ever sees the light of day on the Senate floor.
Yeah. Would you support a censure resolution?
Well, I certainly would, but I hope it's not viewed as an alternative to impeachment. Listen to what the Republicans have said over and over again. Senator Murkowski, who's my friend and I respect very much, Senator Lamar Alexander, the same, have all but conceded the facts of this impeachment trial. They understand what this president did. We all do. And the question before us is, what are we going to do about it? And Adam Schiff, I think, really put his finger on it yesterday. If we don't do something about it, he'll do more of the same over and over and over again. And that, I think, is really the challenge to the Senate.
Well, I guess that leads to my next question. Assuming the president will feel even more emboldened to behave the way he does, what then is the next procedural, what's the next lever that can be pulled to try and hold him accountable?
The November election, period. It is clear that even despite the admission by my Republican colleagues of his wrongdoing, they will take no action to slow him down or stop him. His aides and staff obviously have no impact on the man's decision-making, and we've seen a steady pattern for the last 3 years plus of what we can expect. So we just have to really point to November, be prepared and be ready for the American people to change course.
Hey, Senator Durbin, Willie Geist, good to see you this morning. You've been in that body for some time now. You've got a lot of friends across the aisle, including Lamar Alexander, retiring Republican of Tennessee. I'm curious what you make of his argument and his vote. Again, he voted not to acquit the president. He didn't even want to vote to have witnesses, to have evidence. How does he explain that vote to you? Did you lobby him at all? Did you speak to him privately?
You know, Willie, this is so personal. I didn't walk the floor and lobby my friends on the other side. I listened to them, and I know that they're in a way saddened by where we are at this moment. But maybe one, perhaps two, will step up and say as much when it comes to the final impeachment vote. Alexander Hamilton said, send the impeachment trial to the Senate because it's independent and dignified. By a vote of 51 and 49, we have basically abandoned any claim to independence or dignity. I'm afraid this impeachment trial is a sad moment in the history of the body.
Senator Durbin, David Ignatius, thinking about the judgment that we rendered now by the voters in November, what is the message that you would like the Senate to ask the voters to deliver? President Trump will say this vote acquits him. It shows that this was a witch hunt. How do you counter that as you think about November?
I just don't believe that this president's values reflect the values of the majority of America. Whether you're conservative or liberal, blue or red, Democrat, Republican, he does not reflect who we are and who we want to be. He can put economic numbers up as long as he wishes. But intuitively, the American people are not being pushed and prodded and persuaded by this at all. They understand this president is not someone who represents our values, who speaks for us. And now they'll have their chance in November. We've been waiting 3 years plus. Let's not miss this opportunity.
Senator, it's Jonathan Lemire. Whether it's tonight at the State of the Union or sometime in the very near future, we certainly expect the president to go on quite a bit and crow about his acquittal, which we anticipate will happen tomorrow. But as the Senate trial draws to a close here, could you just talk about what this means for the Senate itself? Do you feel like the senators, your colleagues on both sides of the aisle, lived up to the oath that Justice Roberts asked them to uphold about delivering impartial justice. Was impartial justice served here over these last few weeks in the well of the United States Senate?
Listen, closing the door to evidence and witnesses was the end of any effort to show impartial justice. And for the Senate itself, I'll give you one number to remember. In the entire calendar year of 2019, we considered exactly 22 amendments on the floor of the United States Senate, 6 of them by Rand Paul, which were throwaway no votes. 22 amendments. What Mitch McConnell has done to the United States Senate by saying we're going to take up no substantive legislation, we're going to ignore all the bills coming over from the House of Representatives, we're just focused on filling federal judicial spots, and that's it. Well, that's a change in the Senate, which is a move in the wrong direction, and this Senate is a capstone of the McConnell strategy.
Hey, Senator, before we let you go, you mentioned November being the recourse for Democratic voters. There's some confusion about November right now because of what happened in your neighboring state to the west, Iowa, last night. What's your reaction to what you're seeing, the fact that we have no idea what happened last night because of some problems with the technology and the vote counting there? Do you think the Iowa caucus is a good way to elect a presidential nominee?
I spent a lot of time in Iowa campaigning for Paul Simon, Barack Obama, and others, Hillary Clinton over the years. They're wonderful people, and the Democrats there are a great bunch of supporters of our party and its values. Having said that, I think the Democratic caucus in Iowa is a quirky, quaint tradition which should come to an end. As we try to make voting easier for people across America, the Iowa caucus is the most painful situation we currently face for voting. People who work all day, pick up the kids at daycare, do you think they're headed to the caucus next? Of course not. We've got to have a means for people to express themselves that is reliable. Unfortunately, the caucus system is not.
So, Senator, you're the second most powerful Democrat in the United States Senate. So let me ask you, because we talk about this all the time, what can be done so 4 years from now the Democratic Party doesn't look to 2 of the whitest states in America to pick the presidential nominee for their very diverse party? I mean, how does this? It's got to stop. Everybody says it has to stop, and yet every 4 years the same thing happens. Why not start with more diverse states like Florida or Illinois, or you pick the state, Georgia, even any state.
Yes.
But these 2 very white states.
I think you make a good point, Joe. And as I said, I love my neighbors in Iowa, and I've campaigned with them and respect them very much for their commitment to the party. But the state of Iowa does not reflect our party. And the fact that we're putting so many chips on the table in Iowa, here we are the morning after with Iowa caucus turning out to be one big political asterisk. And that is not a good outcome by any means. Yes, I would like to see a more diverse beginning to this test of our presidential candidates, and it's up to our party to lead the way to make that happen.
All right, Senator Dick Durbin, thank you very much.
And you know, David Ignatius, thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.